Buy no monthly misery, baby, but I will tip the joint. Skip that sub, tip a buck. Internet high five. Skip that sub, tip a buck. Keep the good stuff alive. Coffee in my hand, scrolling late at night. Cat doing kung fu, yeah, it feels right. Then a bud stops yelling, pay me every day. I said, buddy, I'm broke in a regular way. I don't need no gold tier, don't need that pain. I'll tip when you hit me with the laugh train. Tip a buck, internet high five. Skip that sub, tip a buck. Keep the good stuff alive. You fix my sink with a 3-minute clip. Save my Sunday shirt from the trip tree. You taught my brain a trick, made my...
Good morning, fellas. How are we out there? So today is a day of once again learning new things, and it's kind of fun. Yesterday was a blast, man. If you're new to the channel and the space and me, yesterday was a fun day. We went really long. What's normally an hour-long podcast, blog, whatever you call this, and we had fun. We went from an idea and then we made a thing, and that was cool. And so I like that a lot. It gives a lot more weight to what we're doing of the morning, simply having coffee, because it gave me the opportunity to kind of teach folks how to do this stuff. Because why? Because teaching is fun to me. I like that a lot. It's like, get a little biblical on you. It's simple. It's like, I truly enjoy teaching a person to fish versus just feeding them fish. A lot, because I think it's just important, call me crazy, but that's just me, you know what I'm saying? And I am crazy. Morning, Damien. How are you, pal? Glad to see you're there. But yeah, so yesterday we made a monkey, right? Lancelot Link in a Superman suit. That, of course, this particular version looks just kind of like a monkey with attitude. Sort of like that one meme where it looks like the little Pakistani dude's got his hand on his hip, all, right? Like, so he kind of has that judgmental look about him. But if you look close in the details there, you can see the Superman logo and everything else. But that was fun to walk through that whole process. And that was something that really sparked to like, oh, okay, maybe this is why I'm doing this, or a good reason to do this, beyond just pontificating on things. Because looking at the world and what all's going on, not much has truly changed. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so this is the morning roundup. Big thing going with the Greenland tariff situation in Europe's. And it's funny because we've kind of come to this point where, you remember, my fellow Gen Xers and back, we used to be okay with being, in support of patriotic type moves, which honestly, the Greenland situation is, it's interesting. Because which part scares you, Greenland or all the other stuff? So, but the Greenland thing is like, it is interesting because, again, the way the president is handling these things is very strong. And some say iron-fisted. Well, if you're in negotiations trying to accomplish a goal, you kind of gotta be. I mean, I don't know if that talking thing of like toxic masculinity that became a thing, it's too ingrained now, maybe, because again, it's like getting things done, and it takes. I'm not using that word because I don't really relate to that culture, but it takes a lot of gumption. You know what I'm saying? And all the stuff yesterday scared you. It shouldn't scare you. We went through the whole thing. It was awesome. And so don't let it scare you. Play with it seriously. But going back again, talking about this thing with all the tariff tool is really kind of the way I see it now. It's like, if people don't want to do what U.S. policy or the president wants to do, then use the tariffs versus sending in bombs. That I can go along with that better than, again, bombing people. I don't really want to see that. I think that's a horrible idea. Again, not a tree-hugging hippie, but the loss of innocent human life for the sake of money or political gain and power, that just seems dumb. Just saying. And again, like I said, I'm just kind of pontificating on my thought, is just that, the way I would see it, while it has some suck built into it for folks, we just, I don't know. It's like it just makes sense, because if we Okay, here. Let's connect some dots here. Why this may be indeed in the U.S.'s best interest to own Greenland, like we own Alaska, right? Remember, we bought that from the Russians. So the thing I would see is that with the with the positioning of Greenland and the positioning of Alaska, the biggest thing they do is they would indeed offer more protection for our northern border. I know there's Canada in between, right? But I saw that Canada is in negotiations and talks with China, which isn't necessarily a bad thing at all. I mean, it's a big planet, sort of, and it's a smaller planet now. But what would say keep China from, because they're a strong armed country, what would keep them from like really putting the arm in on Canada, and Canada being a weak country, sorry my Canadian friends, but just letting them kind of roll in and set up camp right there at our northern border? I don't know. Again, I'm no geopolitical expert, but just kind of observing some things. I don't know. I mean, to like cover all bases kind of makes sense to me, because again, but we've gotten so far removed from like the things of our ancestors that we were taught, that the way war works, so we don't do that now. We're much more civilized. No, we're not by, because human nature hasn't changed a bit. And if we are to believe, which I still do, in the promise of America and what we're supposed to represent, you got to dig your heels in, because the policies that have come to play across the planet over the past 10 years, longer really, but I mean, really, you can really see it, and especially in the past 5 years, it's really been amplified to where you have a global governance coming into form. Um, and again, it's like you need something to keep the nations talking to one another and discussing things. Global trade, I don't have a problem with that. But if it's controlled by the wrong ideology, you have a problem. Because again, the rock I stand on when it comes to all of it, everybody can debate anything they want and we can have an open discussion to figure things out. But if it involves hurting a child, which is what one of the big color war things that they've done now is, that we can't allow for that. I'm not apologizing at all. We cannot do things that hurt children. This generation of children, with the events of 2022 generations really, were deeply impacted. If they were like, say, 5 or 10 years old, 15 years old, starting in 2020, and everything that unfoiled and unfurled there, they have a worldview that we don't, because we know, Gen X and back, we understand what it was like because we did it all. They were robbed of that opportunity, and that's fact. So there you go. And to get things back on track, these poor kids, they've lost identity because they don't have, well, I say they don't have, they were not exposed to the way we were exposed to things, as far as like traditional media, how it worked, as far as 3 channels. Radio mattered in the car and in the house. You had centralized information distribution. No, that's not a thing for them at all, because they grew up with not just the internet, but the smartphone. And the smartphone keeps everybody plugged into the grid, the matrix, if you will. So we let that happen, and now we've got to contend with it, because that's what I see. Because again, thankfully, when we decided before we even decided we were having a baby, we knew homeschool was going to be a thing, because of, well, we'll call it my paranoia and cynicism. But at least you agree with my paranoia and cynicism, because the education system we'd observed had really gone to pot. And that's just not something that I wanted to personally contend with, because I didn't want my child to have to be re-educated on things because people were dumb. So, and again, when hearing the reports like through the past 5 years and early into post 2020, where they were really giving credence to this whole furry thing, where they would let a kid identify as like an animal, like a cat, and they actually put litter boxes into bathrooms. Are you out of your damn mind? Or girl feminine products in boys' bathroom. They did that. They did that. Actually, really, truly did that. Not just hype. It really happened. And it's like, are you out of your minds? That's so stupid. And people went along with it. Why? Because they weaponized our empathy, sympathy, and compassion. Nobody wants to deal with that. Let's see. Yeah, well, see, and that's the thing. It's like this great North American Union. I'm not opposed to it. I'm really not. I mean, because again, the world has and societies have evolved in such a way that, again, everything is changing. It's going to have to, because the communications alone are what have done that. Because the ability to talk to someone on the other side of the planet instantaneously changes the whole game for individuals, let alone the political class and the corporate class and all that. And so, I mean, it's just a whole different thing. It's like, it's hard to wrap. Think about this: 100 years ago, 100 years ago, the idea of being able to have a morning chat with someone in Poland was absolutely unthinkable. No, it was impossible. There was no way. There may have been phone lines, but those type of connections, the way that worked, it was a remarkably expensive thing. Say there was shortwave radio. Sure, but it was so limited in scope as far as who actually operated those things or had access to them. But now I can have a chat with my buddy in Warsaw right now in real time. And so that's a different dynamic we have to take into consideration. Doesn't take away from what we consider our basic freedoms, however. And therein lies a thing. But I don't know. It's interesting, and there are things that have to be done and addressed. And it would be nice if it was one little blue marble here in the giant universe of everything, where everybody on said blue marble all got along. But we don't, because we're humans and people have free will and choice. And so there will be discussions and conflicts and things like it's just going to happen, you know? Um, let's see. Let's say we have let me read your comment there. We have a generation of people with all the information on the planet, making them think they know everything and can do nothing. See, and that's our fault. I mean, it really, really, really is. As a society, is our fault, because once again, I firmly believe this. Our sympathy, empathy, and compassion has gotten so weaponized. And that's how people get into the emotional fights online. They get some kind of thing that hits them in the feels, and they just go at it. And it would be the same thing in the street, but people won't do that in the streets in a civilized society, because you don't want to get locked up, in most instances, unless it really escalates. Well, see, online, it can escalate to ridiculous emotional turmoil, because there's not one point where it's going to heat to the point where someone gets chin checked or worse. And so, again, that dynamic is different, but the psychology of it all is still impacting the human as it would in the real world, but worse, because again, it gets to run roughshod. It's crazy. I don't know, but I know it's cold out there this morning. It's like 11 degrees right now here. And yeah, it was chilly. And so the morning duties with the dogs was brisk, very brisk. I won't say refreshing at all. But thinking about what is today's topic? Today's topic is simple. Yesterday was fun. This is like becoming more and more fun. It's like I let in this morning. I don't know if you heard the lead-in song. I like that. I like that concept versus doing a countdown thing or something. I like having the machine create something fun-wise, as far as like the music stuff. It's a fun little novelty thing. I like that a lot, and because again, I can get an idea, and I'm like, well, let's do a song about like this and play with it. And it's like any other tool. The more you use it, the more you can. And for me, my perspective is that, again, for many years, the radio stations would subscribe to various services for music, or the comedy services, whatever. And you could just pick and pull from that stuff, or just the library of music that you would have on hand. And that was good, but it was all canned stuff, and it was dated for the most part. I mean, some of it could be like, evergreen type things that you could drop in, but on the whole, it was just a little dated. Now, you could write and produce stuff. That's what I used to do. But it took time. Well, I got a life to live now, because everything is moving so fast, and I haven't figured out how I'm going to like detach from that more, to where I've got more time to sit and write and produce things myself that I enjoy doing more so than the job aspect of it. And so I genuinely enjoy this freedom to be able to say, okay, here's an idea, boop, 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 beep, pop, and it's out. And 5 minutes tops. That's awesome to me because again, I put the little morning lead-in song together like 10 minutes before I got up for fetch my other cup of coffee. It's pretty awesome, and it's one of those things to where I understand that this is another thing for me that's a little tricky is that I've been like on a lifelong learning adventure to where I never stop learning. It's like in some ways it's good, in some ways it's bad, because sometimes you can learn too much. You know what I'm saying? You just don't stop. You don't stop reading. You don't stop scrolling. You don't stop for binging information content. So that's that's a habit I have to break because while it's good to learn, you can learn too much. How do you learn too much? Well, because you just imbibe that instead of stopping and taking action on what you've just learned and imbibing it into what you really do. So that's that trick, right? And but it did give me an idea yesterday because after I got off the air or the web or however you want to use that lexicon, and I got to thinking that, okay, because I've been wanting to do tutorial type videos and everything, but didn't know exactly which way I wanted to go with it and do it. So yesterday was cool because Gar kicked in an idea accidentally, which is very much, I love when that type of inspiration happens, when we go from the photo of Lancelot Link into the printed 3D version of Lancelot Link, just that quick. And I was like, well, that's cool. I really like that. But I'd had a conversation with another friend of mine after I got off air and he got a chance to watch the playback. And he's like, well, you're giving it away. Yeah, I am, but that's kind of how this thing works. In a lot of ways, it's like providing a service like I do with the Evergreen Engine stuff, creating content for people, because that is a service that definitely it's necessary. Advertising, marketing, and promotion is always going to be a thing. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, because if you're in business or you're offering a service or you have a civic organization, a hobby, a fundraiser, whatever you got to do, you have to be able to communicate that. And the way you have to do it now is by way of the internets. But you have to figure out how you're going to do it because, again, you're not truly in control of this thing. No matter how much freedom it is alluded to that you don't. I watch the Facebook back door on my stuff that I put up because I still put the little morning picture up with flip the calendar, and just because, right? It's like my daily engagement thing that I do. And I like doing it because it makes me kind of think. And it also makes me get off my duff and make sure that I do it. I could schedule that out. Wouldn't be it's not difficult to simply flip through the calendar, take a picture, schedule it, etc., etc. But anyway, and thinking about all of those things and creating something that would have real value for people, that's where all of this evergreen content stuff came from, because I understand and I accept that while everyone can do this, not everyone will do this, or they truly believe they can't do it. And it's like, okay, fine, that's good, but it still needs to be done. It's sort of like, being the garbage man. It's like people are always going to need their garbage hauled off. It's just a thing. But how do you do this in a manner that, you can feel good about doing these things? Because again, that's always been my Achilles heel, is if I can do it, I should just do it, right? But you got to pay the rent to stay on the planet. So finding the balance, and I found that in that. I really have. So what I'm working on backstage is, like I say, the service itself is making calls and making the offers and looking for people who could possibly use that and save them time. Because again, the way that system works is you give me say 2 hours of the time, right? In person, we talk, we do things, we record stuff. Then I can go back and you're like done, right? So I go back here, I sit down, and then I go through all my machinations to take that 2 hours worth of conversation and recordings and turn it into a 5-week run of engaging evergreen content. And by evergreen, I mean something that when we put this message together, it's something that whether you watched it today or 2 weeks from now or a month from now or a year from now, it still has some value inside of it. Because those are the things that, you can't make everything evergreen, and you shouldn't make everything evergreen, but at the same time, the more legs you can get out of your investment, see, that helps me sleep at night. It used to drive me, I'm telling you, it ate at me for so many decades. when it came to putting together commercials and such for radio or television, either one, that was once that campaign was over or that buy, then it was just gone. And man, that drives me nuts. I never felt good about that. But there were certain limitations at the time with the technology, the way things are distributed. When you put it on the radio, it went out into the ether and you were done. That was it, right? Um, but it's not that way now. It's like that great line from the movie The Social Network that the internet is written in ink. So when you put something out, unless all the servers crash, it's there forever. I mean, it's like I was looking on my YouTube channel because I've had that thing ever since I got in town. And I sat down. Let's see, let me go over here to it. But like I said, I was, because I'm learning more about actually utilizing it properly or effectively, if you will. But looking at like I have 431 videos up on the YouTube channel. 431. Now that's after, oh my gosh, how many years now? I mean, it's well since 2008 is when I created that YouTube channel and started putting stuff up there. So, I mean, if you break it down like that, then that's like just what, 43 videos a year. But they're compounding now because of this morning stream. And yeah, it's been interesting. I don't know. So, but going back, and I can go back into those archives. Let's see, let me go back. I'm gonna go way back because like the very first video that I had done to put up on the YouTube. Let's see if I can get this thing to cooperate with me, YouTube. Why are you doing that? There we go. There we go. The very, very, very first video I put up on YouTube in December 22nd of 2008 was a little promo I put together for a buddy of mine's book called Luke's Quest, Prisoner of Time. And that was like the very first book of a series of 3 that he had done. Al Collier, God rest his soul. He's long gone now. But a great guy, and I had put together just simple promo because first time we talked about doing something like that. And I put that together for him. And it's very traditional commercial stuff, right? But then after that, though, the next one up is from, boy, there's like almost damn near a year gap. Because again, 2008 to 2009, didn't really matter that much. September 28, 2009, I uploaded the day that the Arkansas lottery went online. And it happened, and it was there. First time there was legal gambling in Arkansas. And so that story's there. And I went to the convenience store, the White Oak station here in town, to grab the story and people and their reactions and everything. Even though up here in Harrison, in this area, I mean, we're basically a border city with Missouri, and they've had the lottery a whole lot longer, so just made it to where people could. And I like being able to look back and see things like, again, 2009, October, you've got when North Arkansas College put in what is now that restaurant lounge, I forget what it's called. The Bradley Student Center, okay, when they did the renovation there. And so I was able to capture that. And then those little things like that. I like those little snapshots in time. And that's why I've just left them there. I didn't, there's no reason to delete them. At one point, I, getting overly maybe nostalgic or feeling busy, useful, I went in and I was creating an archive of all the old TKO stuff that I still had, and that would be mainly commercials and stuff like that, just for the sake of history. And so some of that's up there, but the project itself, I couldn't justify the time and sitting down and doing all that constantly to get all that up. So just letting it go. Did the best I could, and there you go. Otherwise, some things would go off into the ether. But it's kind of fun looking back. 2010 was a very hot year for my YouTube stuff because, again, I was really getting into the flow of it and making silly stuff. Some of it was good, some of it was total crap. But I did it. But I really like the snapshots in time. And one of the things that's interesting in that is I get to watch people grow. Because you figure if you look at when the premiere of the Twilight Saga Eclipse movie debuted over at, it was still the Harrison 8 Cinema, now the Golden Ticket Cinema, back in 2010, so that's 16 years ago, that I was out there, and the people that were there are still a lot of the same people that are here now, and they're telling me about whether they're Team Edward or Team Jacob and all of the fun and merriment that went along with that. Anyway, but just to know that those people have an opportunity to look back on themselves from 16 years ago. Some ways it's great, some ways it's not. It just depends on how you frame it. But yeah, just looking at things like that. Then I can also see some progress on things that I was learning, like where I learned how to do a full animation walk with my Odie the Ogre character when I was still doing it in 2D style, which was a massive pain in the ass. It was. For a guy who was just doing it for fun, I was trying to squeeze it into my actual day. It's just kind of funny, but also to snapshot that from a perspective of what can be done now in mere seconds. And so it's like, okay, because I look at this one, the Odie Walk 2 for YouTube MPEG. The resolution is crap. But the animation cycle went really well. And it's like I had it playing to where I had a background, I had Odie walking, and I had a fence in front of that, right? So it had the full parallax movement, and it was fun. And it took me a remarkably amount of time. I'm talking like, I try to like dive into things like in a day's period, just one setting as best as possible. It's like a personal challenge thing because I also never knew what I'd be having to do the next day because things would change or hop up. So anyway, I know that was at least a full day's worth of playing with Photoshop, laying them out frame by frame by frame, but using certain aspects of Facebook that would allow for certain animations to be moved through keyframes. I know you don't care. But anyway, now I can just take that one image and I can give it to any of the AI, the Geminis, the ChatGPT. Well, I shouldn't say that. Well, anyway, they can animate it in seconds. And it's like, okay, and look really good and enhance the overall feel of it. And it's just like, damn, okay. But it is what it is, man. Just the way things evolve. But then I get to look back when I was doing the Here, There, and Everywhere show back in 2010, because that was like, it was so funny because like every year I was like, is like marked by a production of some sort. It was weird. It was like, especially in the fall is when I would normally launch, and I would do like 8, 10 episode series of something. 2008 going into 9 was Case Files of the Ozarks Ghost Research Society. End of 2009, I went in and did Ozark Idols. And then for 2010 was Here, There, and Everywhere. And that was kind of like a little bit more of the coping mechanism because that was the year my father passed away around that time. And, but again, just wanted to be useful here locally. And so I put together the Here, There, Everywhere show. And it's funny because, again, I can go back to those and I can find the people that either are no longer with us, are still with us, but just got 16 years older, see what they're doing and how they're doing now, you know, and then also seeing the younger version of me. Whew, son. That's one thing about being a guy. We show our age pretty hardcore on the most part, but that's okay. Everybody does. It's not a big deal. I'd rather wear it as a crown, you know. But I say all of that because I look back and I think about all this stuff. And inside every one of these videos, believe it or not, there was a new thing that I had to learn how to do. And I was doing it solo, but I had the internet, so that helped a lot. But it was an evolution thing, but it was my day to day. And I don't think that's a habit I'm ever really going to want to break anyway, but to be able to just do, and to be able to do in a manner that is, I like affordability. And that's where it's like to like think about doing online sales type stuff. You know, like when I was doing reviews, one of the trickiest parts for me is, I'll just say it, like when I was doing stuff for Entertainment Earth, I enjoyed, number one, of course, the ego got tweaked so hard because they came to me, not me to them. But when they came to me, that was really cool. But then I also felt that obligation of really saying great things about them, which there was nothing wrong with them per se, other than I didn't like the prices because their prices were higher than other places. I like helping people save money because I like to save money. And anybody who is in like my collector circle of friends knows that I am cheap, man. And now, thanks to 3D printing, I'm even cheaper, even though I invested in the machine and the filaments and things like that. But I can make that reasonable facsimile of something that satisfies my collector itch, and I'm totally cool with that. Or I can even design and build my own stuff, like we did with the monkey. Isn't that cool? I mean, it just is. It's bam. Sorry, Lance, a lot. Poor guy. Anyway, so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to actually map out lessons that we can kind of go through of a morning while we're having coffee. Because it's fun. Maybe, or take suggestions, and then after the show, after the coffee talk, If somebody makes a suggestion of something they would like to see or learn or do, if I could do it after the show, I'll just like record it in the background and then upload it later. Maybe. Um, Something. But what I did though is in where this whole conversation came from was that in doing what we did yesterday, some can perceive it as giving away the farm. In some ways, that's true. However, that's just kind of how the world works in a lot of ways, because there's nothing I can tell you or teach you or show you that you can't find someone else to do or do it better, maybe do it worse. But at the same time, it's there. The information is all there. And I hope that, like anything that I show you and walk you through or whatever, that if it grabs a hold of you to do your own deep dive, rabbit hole dig in learning more about it, because again, there's nothing you can't dream and do now with just a little bit of effort. And if I can encourage the start, that's like a big thing to me. Start. It's like whenever I had done the Boy Scout University for Troop 60 here in town, for a couple of years with their Merit Badge University, helping them get their movie making merit badge. It was cool because it was great because I had one day, and not even a full like 8-hour day, to be able to get these young men. See, because prior to that, they mainly just had, they would just talk, do this, maybe a little thing where they would put their hands on something and test the equipment, right? And that was all well and good, but it's like, that doesn't really, for me, it's like, okay, it's like going to a museum and you get to look, but you can't really do anything with the stuff. So that's when I developed my 8-hour workshop for video creation. So that when you start the thing and you learn the basics, fundamentals, and we go through all of it, by the end of the day, you've actually been a part of a team that produced something. And again, now then, when we fast forward to where we are now, everyone's got a full studio in their pocket with these smartphones, right? Then I was still having to use the phone a little bit then, but then also I was using a laptop, and that was the main brain of being able to pull that off. But there were so many other hoops when it came to the cameras and sound and stuff like that were still part of the thing that's not part of the thing anymore. But again, my desire was to make sure that the kids learned something and took something away from it. So we would always, it's how the thing began. You start out explaining the basics and the background of mass communications and film and all that, but then you actually go into writing and scripting, and then assigning the role. Well, actually, you start assigning roles first, and then we begin the brainstorming writing process, all the pre-production stuff. And then by the time we got to about the lunch point, we got all the pre-production ready to go. So after the lunch period, we'd be able to go and blast through production, because we already did a really solid pre-production. And so we blast through production, recording everything we need to do, shooting it, and then within 2 hours of all of that, being able to sit down and post and click it together that fast. Because again, if you are ever looking to create anything, your pre-production is key. I don't care what it is. Even if you're going to do yard work, if you've got all your tools mapped out that you're going to need for the day, and you're going to, you want to know what you're doing. It's like, oh, today is the front yard, tomorrow is the backyard. Map it all out. As you do that while you're having coffee and getting the day underway, and you're making your checklist and everything, that's your pre-production. You get that part, and then you go do it. And then voila, you're in full production. And at the end of the day, the post-production of it is putting everything away and observing the incredible work that you did, and you've got that sense of satisfaction. That's how I view the world. Everything is a production, right? Everything kind of is. But I'm not even going metaphorical there, but I'm talking like really that framing of things. Like the 3-act structure is still always the best way to go when telling a story, because you've got Act 1 for your initial introductions and setups. Act 2, everything goes to hell. Act 3, everything is resolved. And that's pretty much kind of like life. And so that 3-act story structure works. You can build in all the other subplots and everything else, but that's just, that will come naturally as your storytelling. That's what I've come to find. So anyway, I don't know, it's been interesting to see. But again, just looking through those old videos, I want to repurpose them, because that's the thing, you can repurpose all of this stuff. And I also like the idea of having an archive of certain things, because the tale is in the tape, right? And so anybody who wants to say some things, well, maybe I've got something in the archives that can check that, excuse me. But I like to look and see what all's happened, and see, like my most popular video of all time, still to this day, is a bouncing ball music video, because I'd always wanted to do one, or thought about it, because the first time I saw that you could use keyframes in Adobe Premiere, I was like, well, that looks like, let me do this. And so I made a bouncing ball video, and it's the Must Be Halloween video. Of course, it's got a copyright on it because I used Andrew Gold's It Must Be Halloween song. And then I used stock images from Digital Juice, I think it was. Well, stock video. And just put the thing together. And then I had to do all of it manually, as far as like typing in the words and then animating the ball with the keyframes. And it was laborious. I mean, so much had to go into doing that, but it was worth it. I wanted to learn. But now, again, the technology is sped up to where that really takes literally a fraction of time now. So I don't know. But again, it's like that foundational stuff. And that's where it's like, I'm not stuck in the past, because I won't be, because I do remember what it was like to do these things. My second highest viewed video was back, it's a re-upload. I did this before. It was in 2015, but I re-uploaded it in 2016. But anyway, it was when one of those rallies were in town, the support for the Confederate flag. And I loved this clip. I did, because the lady I interviewed happened to be a black lady who was in support of the Confederate flag. Because why? Because they common sense, man. It's all it is. But, you know, when you live in the most racist town in America and all that bullshit, I was really glad to capture a different perspective. And it was nice back when you could do that without getting totally punched down. But it's so funny, because I look over at the likes versus the dislikes. Nothing's changed, because looking at, well, here, let me just pull these up. So I'll just go the full second screen. Here we go. But we look at these things. And like, okay, like the Must Be Halloween video. Yeah, like I say, pretty good there. 90% of people who viewed it liked it. That was kind of nice. Thank you, guys. But then when it came to this one, that most decisive thing that is always going to be decisive as long as politicians rule the day, 50%, right down the middle. Half liked it, half didn't. And it looks like the like edged out a little bit more. This one still amazes me. I did a review on the NECA Interstellar Action Figure 2-pack, and I got to be honest. For that ratio on this one, I don't understand. I honest to God don't get the appeal. I really don't. They were well made, sure. But I mean, of course, it's got everything to do with the property. And I don't think I've ever made it through the movie because it bored me to tears. But again, looking back, and this one right here, that promo with Gordy and Debbie, yeah, okay, it's still public. Those guys were up in Branson for a very, very, very long time over at Jackie B. Good's Diner with a yellow taxi out front, our cab. That was a great place. And Gordy, I got to say, is my favorite male vocalist in Branson, period. End of statement. Gordy, if you haven't watched this, go give it a go. One of the things I had done with the hospital back then, that was pretty cool. Because again, it was really cool, because along the way, in some of the things I've done over the years, is to be able to find people to collaborate with and work with. And that was very hard. But one of the people that I did get the opportunity to truly collaborate with, and we came up with some really fun stuff, was Kim Rawson. And she was, prior forever, she was like the Booster Club president for the Harrison Goblins, right? And she did an amazing job. And that stadium, the FS Garrison Stadium, exists because of Kim's efforts. You know, along with the Cash Center, definitely the Cash Center. But Kim was just an amazing person to collaborate with, and we did things with once she took the foundation president, or whatever the title is, over the NARMC Foundation, and the marketing stuff. When we started making just fun stuff, award-winning stuff even. But again, I don't worry about the accolade stuff. It's never been my thing. But then some of the stuff that they won awards for, I wasn't allowed to be included by name because I caused problems. Still don't care to this day. It was what it was. But anyway, yeah, just looking through those things, it's just kind of cool to have those snapshots, but also to reflect back on the lessons learned in every one of those, and they're revisiting them, because I myself, like most folks nowadays, especially once you cross that that half-century mark, you know, you start kind of reflecting on, it's like, well, where am I useful? How am I useful? I want to be useful. And I know those foundational things that I did there have now evolved, and I can actually tell that story that may help people better understand what's happening. Because again, just because you can grab this and you can knock this stuff out, that's great. But to understand what's underneath it and led to this point, I think makes for stronger creations. Call me crazy, but I don't know. I think we need to quote unquote respect our elders in those things, the people who came before us who made this stuff possible. And it wouldn't be a bad idea to learn how these things work at their root and core. And I'm not talking about just storytelling now. I'm talking about, it's sort of like Army of Darkness, when Ash goes way back in time to the Middle Ages or the medieval times. And what saved his posterior was that he had a science book in the back of that car. So he was able to whip up all this incredible stuff to be able to defeat the Deadites. And so that was, I don't know, but there's just something to that. It's like, because if everything went down and we had to start all over, where would we start? You know, I mean, do you know how to install a plumbing main to make a running water in the house? I don't. And it's like, oh, that's a bad idea to not understand those fundamentals. And that's where I think the education system still needs to have its roots in. At some point, we did before, like with shop and auto shop and home ec and all those things. You learn those basics. Yeah, exactly. And the shotgun and the chainsaw. But here's the thing, though. When he went back to the Middle Ages, had he not had the science book, he wouldn't have been able to make the gunpowder for the bullets and the gas for the chainsaw. You know, so again, it's those foundational things that if you get them in a book, the book can't be deleted. You know, not really. So you just hide it really well. But I don't know. And so just thinking about that and moving forward and things. And what I've done now, I'm just going to embed this and stuff because it just kind of makes sense. It's now it has a term now. It's value to value, because I'm not a big fan of subscription things, and so I've stayed away from even thinking about putting together something that would be a subscription-based Patreon thing. I don't like the model. I never have. I never will. So why the hell should I do that? That would like just be hypocrisy and play, and I don't want that. But what I have done, however, is I am structuring out a button, the whole thing with just leave a tip, right? But encouraging on certain things. If it's like I put together a tutorial of some sorts that does help you, and you're like, man, this really did help, I appreciate this. There's a tip jar now, and the tip jar will be across all my platforms. I'm going to integrate that because, again, you got to pay rent to be on the planet. And if my efforts, this is just what I do, tell stories and do things and show people how to do stuff, it only makes sense to put something in there that I think. And actually, it's funny coming back to the video with Gordy. One of the things I learned from Gordy Wenzel and Debbie with their show in Branson, they did something I'd never seen anyone else up there do. Now, it was a dinner show, so it was at Jackie B. Good's, and you paid, I think it was like $30 for the whole shebang, so you got, or 35 maybe, but it was worth it because it was a great show that they put together while you're having dinner. So your dinner's included with the show, just to clarify that, right? So it was like totally worth it, and the food was good, and the atmosphere was great, and the show was fantastic. But when they got to the standard Branson break, that intervention inside of every single show, no matter where you go, their merch table was totally pay what you want. CDs, DVDs, everything they had, there was just a bucket, whatever you want. And I was like, man, that is brilliant. Because again, people are very generous when you let them be. And if they're truly enjoying themselves, they'll be even more generous. And they did. And I watched that. And I'm like, that is fascinating. So then to come up with a method, yeah, and I thought about it since then, because that was back in, when did I do that? See, I can go back and check the record. I can go back and I can look, but I did that promo back in, that is not correct. It wasn't 20, maybe it was 2016. Hell, 10 years ago actually is a long time ago, even though it doesn't feel like it. So 10 years ago. So I thought about that for a long time, and I tried to incorporate it sometimes, but I never took it seriously. Now I'm taking it seriously. Because again, my goal in life is to enjoy life. And I can do that. I have surrounded myself with everything that makes this human being kind of pop. Plus, I got Alicia and Caitlin, and they make me happy too. And hey, it's Gar. Good morning, buddy. But being able to think in that term to where just monetize the effort that exists, pull the information that I learned from once upon a time ago, turn it into a teaching model that allows people to learn from my mistakes. And again, build foundational truths that help explain why it is what it is today when it comes to doing things. Again, from 2D animation, like the stuff with Gar that I reminded you of a week or so ago, that was fun. It was totally fun to do. But to know now that, again, when you go into the modern world where it's just a matter of, okay, computer, do this, and it does it, I think it's still important to understand how it got to this point because it matters as far as understanding. It's just a thing. So anyway, Gar, what we've been doing this morning is just kind of talking about how much fun yesterday was because I had a ball. I truly had a blast. Oh, no, 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 no. Green in the gills, that's not good. What you got? Man alive. There you go. Well, I was hoping you was on the mend completely from the migraines or any other ailment because you're like an amazing human being and does not deserve to be in pain all the damn time. I hate that. If I could figure that one out, but where's the machines on that, right? My goodness. But yeah, it was a lot of fun yesterday, man, and it really sparked a lot of thoughts on my end because when we went from the picture of and I couldn't get to the show last night. Apologies, but to get from the initial, however it came, well, I know how it came to pass, but when we got on the conversation of Lancelot Link and you sent the picture and then went through the whole process from that picture into little Lancelot here staring at me judgmentally. I mean, that is a very judgmental pose there. It's supposed to be super heroic, but he really kind of looks like he's like, for real, dude, for real. Anyway, it's fun. I don't know. But no, it really had a lot of fun. And so it's really sparked a lot of purpose in doing this. And again, I don't think that, this coffee talk should be just that, but it could be. Or if you got an idea and then not necessarily do it during this part, but I can do it after the fact. And I like that a lot. And so, I don't know. I like that a lot. Truly do. So, but it's Sunday now, and it's fun day, and it's cold. Oh, well, it's up to 14 now. So there you go. And it's fun. You can paint him to be more heroic. You are incorrect, sir. You could paint him to be more heroic. I could paint him and make him look like an absolutely horrible impressionist painting of a dying chimp. And I do not want to do that to Lancelot. But I can digitally paint him and make him look cool if I'm patient enough to wait for it to go through the whole process of printing over a significant amount of time, which is really not bad, though. Let's get real, Jim. Even if it took a whole day to print a full colored version bigger, it would be totally worth it because it's fun. It's a hobby. It's a thing. But I think one of the things I want to do that all this is inspired again is like I put together the tip chart, nothing new, right? But I want to put it to where anyone who gets a tip or offers a tip, puts a tip in, whatever, I don't care what it is. But I'm going to also build out a digital vault repository of things that get built in the process of teaching, right? And the best part is I can just let it sit there forever and ever, amen. So, yeah, there you go. But like I say, someone leaves a tip, they get into the vault. Just simple. I don't like subscription services. Loathe them. Now, in fairness, like a Netflix thing, okay, that's fine, whatever. But I'm talking about, like, I see this with the online community and the influencers and YouTubers and all that, and I feel for it because I understand where they're coming from because I'm there too. But they've all jumped into the subscription thing or a paywall thing or a Patreon thing. And I'm not hating on any of that. I think that's all fine and dandy if that's what you want to do. But I don't want that type of wall at this point in the things I do. But at the same time, giving away the farm all the time isn't a good idea either. So there will be certain things that could go behind those walls, but I want to be in control of them. Patreon, you're not in control of, okay? Processing, you're still going to pay fees, but there are ways to do it to where and I'll teach people how to do this because, again, to be able to make a living doing this stuff, I don't know, it's just interesting to me. I don't know. I like coming up with systems that are beneficial for the audience as well as the producers. And that's a very broad thing that encompasses any and all business, civic organizations, hobbyists, whatever. So yeah, so that's the direction I'm going with it. There'll be the more in-depth stuff. Like, okay, if I offer the service, but I'm willing to teach the service, that will be behind a paywall because that would be dumb to give that away. I am a capitalist, but at the same time, the micro lessons of stuff, I'd rather it just be there because I feel it gives me a sense of purpose and usefulness, and that's what it's all about, right? Being useful and have a purpose makes life more interesting, and then it can be there. There you go. But anyway, guys, it's 8:59. I think I'm going to take it definitely a little shorter today, because it's cool. I got a lot in my head that I need to be building and doing to get all this stuff in place. I got to get the audiobook presentation out. I think I'm gonna definitely put some effort on that, and I got a couple dangling things that I need to wrap up for a couple folks. So it's gonna be a productive day again, and but yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna be playing with stuff in the description. I don't know if you can. I put like because again, I'm gonna build this thing out where that tip jar is always there. I'm not expecting anything from anyone, but at the same time to make it possible, and just putting the system in place. That's what it's all about. Putting a system in place. Um, there you go. But okay, guys, I'm gonna wrap this thing up. I hear Alicia stirring around, so I'm gonna go have coffee with her, chat about things. And everybody have a great Sunday. We'll do it again tomorrow and the Monday, the official kickoff of the week. And but yeah, I'm gonna be back to building systems. And again, never forget, a goal is great, but you got to have the system to get to the goal. And you'll be amazed because again, I'm looking at the history here of all these 437 videos or 431 videos on YouTube, and every one of them has a story beyond just the story that they themselves are telling. And I can teach these things. And I've learned a lot since then too, because there are certain things that are just so crappy that I'm like, wow, boy, I never want to do it that way again because that was shit. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, but to find the usefulness in them. But again, it's also kind of fun to look back on these things. Like way back in 2014 is when I had uploaded to YouTube the part of the I Put a Spell on You talking head one. That was fun. I enjoyed that. But yeah, and then other things, the interview, which was awesome to have with Julie Adams, excuse me, no Julie Andrews, Julie Adams from Creature of the Black Lagoon. That was fun. And it's really cool to have a repository, a digital video scrapbook like this. What else is on here? There's one that's kind of interesting. I'm gonna see if I can get that link real quick. It was just kind of a moment in time that I get a chuckle out of now. I'll tell you why. Let's see, let me get the link. And I'll just put it here. But this right here was a little quickie interview on the media part of Branson Con, or Vision Con, well, still Vision Con back in 2016, with Sam Witwer, who, Sam, you may recall from television shows such as Smallville, where he played Doomsday, and he was in a bunch of stuff in that whole CW universe, but also he's the voice of the animated Darth Maul from the Clone Wars and stuff like that. Really nice guy, really, really nice, grounded fella, you know. Anyway, but it was funny because, and I don't think, maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I can't remember. I haven't watched this clip in a long time, but it was funny because at that particular time in 2016, there was no discussion of Darth Maul. He hadn't re-emerged yet in any of the forms, and when I was interviewing him, I found it. And I made mention, I was like, well, you know, what's coming with Darth Maul? Could there be? And the look in his, I caught it right there. I could have dug in deeper, but it was actually in production at the moment. You know, I think it was on Star Wars Rebels, and it hadn't been revealed yet that Darth Maul had returned with his robot spider legs and all that. But it was funny to capture that moment, and it matters now because now we fast forward 10 years, and my formerly 6-year-old daughter Caitlin at the time is now 16, and her 16-year-old boyfriend is a massive Darth Maul fan. That's his favorite character in the whole Star Wars universe, and it's kind of cool to have this moment to share with him. And fun that Caitlin gets to share the moment too, because she was there, of course. And so, yeah, a lot of fun stuff. But it's nice having these little snapshots in time. It really is. Looking back on, thinking about how things have changed, some for the better, some for the not so much. But yeah, and then just thinking about the projects that Alicia and I had done over the years and things like that. It's just fun. Anyway, all kinds of little stuff. But, I don't know. But it's so funny, just looking at numbers and whatnot, and the way people react to things over the years. It's interesting. I don't know. All right, guys, it's 8:53. It's Sunday morning, January the 18th. I am going to get off here, go have coffee with the lovely Alicia, and get back to everything I got to do today. So you guys have a fantastic, the absolute bestest day. We'll do it again in the morning if you're so inclined to wake up and have coffee with me. And I'm going to play this thing out all the way again in case you missed the opening song, because this is kind of themed around the whole idea of doing digital tips, a digital high five. So I'll let this play us into not to the top of the hour, but the end of this hour-ish. And see you guys in the morning.
Buy no monthly misery, baby. but I will tip the joint. Skip that sub, tip a buck. Internet high five. Skip that sub, tip a buck. Keep the good stuff alive. Coffee in my hand, scrolling late at night. Cat doing kung fu, yeah, it feels right. Then a bud starts yelling, pay me every day. I said, buddy, I'm broke in a regular way. I don't need no gold tier, don't need that pain. I'll tip when you hit me with the laugh train. Tip a buck, internet high five. Skip that sub, tip a buck. Keep the good stuff alive. You fix my sink with a 3-minute clip. Save my Sunday shirt from the drip, drip, drip. You taught my brain a trick, made my mood behave. Pull me out the blues like a retro wave. I ain't got a lot, but I got a little. Thank you, so I drop it in the jar like the cool kids do. Tap, tap, tip jar. Bop, bop, bop. Karma do the jitterbug. Make my love pop. Might make you smart. Might make you cute. Might fix your aura in a zoot suit. Skip that sub. Tip a buck. Internet high five. Stop, skip that sub. Tip a buck. Keep the good stuff alive. Stop, skip that sub. Tip a buck. Internet high five. Internet high five. Internet high five. That's a buck well spent, baby. Buy no monthly misery, baby, but I will tip the joint. Skip that sub, tip a buck. Internet high five. Skip that sub, tip a buck. Keep the good stuff alive. Coffee in my hand, scrolling late at night. Cat doing kung fu, yeah, it feels right. Then a bud starts yelling, pay me every day. I said, buddy, I'm broke in a regular way. I don't need no gold tier, don't need that pain. I'll tip when